All across America, critters are crossing the road, and more of them, Conor Knighton tells us, are doing it in style.
Interstate 90 is the longest interstate highway in the United States. Spanning more than 3,000 miles, it connects Seattle in the west to Boston in the east. But it also serves as a massive concrete divide. For the animals who live to the north and south of the interstate, this road has absolutely wrecked their commute.
Is there a rush hour for the animals?
Yes, they tend to be nocturnal or crepuscular, sort of at dawn or dusk.
Patty Garvadarda is a wildlife biologist with the U.S. Forest Service. Brian White works for the Washington State Department of Transportation. Together, their two organizations have teamed up to develop a network of critter crossings in Washington, overpasses and underpasses designed to provide safe passage for wildlife.
The fact that you have one here and one here, is that because you've identified both of those areas as areas that animals are likely to cross?
Yes, correct.
The crossing project spans 15 miles of I-90 near the Snoqualmie Pass in Washington, flanked by large chunks of what's primarily national forest land, habitat for all sorts of creatures, great and small.
If they're protected on both sides, why does it matter if they're connected?
Because you lose genetic variability, and gradually you start getting localized extinction, and populations get further and further apart and smaller.
Around the country, most animals see a busy highway and turn around. A brave few might try to cross, but they're at risk of getting run over. A wildlife crossing is supposed to make that process far less treacherous. But there's no guarantee that if you build it, they will come.
There's a wildlife corridor sign back there. That helps, right? That's how the animals figure it out. They just look at that and they're like,
Yes.
oh, okay, I guess this is the way to go.
Miles of fencing along the road funnel animals to crossing points. High concrete walls block headlights and dull the traffic noise.
We want to mimic the habitat on either side, native plants and everything, so that animals sort of don't even see the transition.
It worked. In 2023, cameras captured animals using these crossings more than 5,000 times, including mule deer, elk, and coyotes.
When this project started, was there some other example that you were looking at as a success story to model this after?
Well, Banff, Canada obviously comes to the top of the list.
The section of the Trans-Canada Highway that cuts through Banff National Park has been used as a model for crossings worldwide. Banff's 38 undercrossings and 6 overcrossings have reduced wildlife collisions by 80%. Back in the U.S., there are now around 1,500 wildlife crossing structures in 43 states. In Wyoming, pronghorn run across Highway 191. In Florida, panthers and alligators creep under I-75. They can be subtle. Motorists may have no idea they're driving over moose in Montana or tunnels full of tortoises in Utah. But it will be hard to miss this crossing. Not far from Los Angeles, they're building the largest wildlife corridor in the country.
I really wish it had been the smallest. I could have gotten years of my life back, trying to help raise the money and the public support.
Beth Pratt serves as Regional Executive Director for the National Wildlife Federation in California. Once it's completed in late 2025 or early 2026, the Wallis Annenberg Wildlife Crossing will stretch for more than 200 feet across 10 lanes of the 101 freeway, which can see up to 400,000 vehicles a day.
I think that's a real miracle that over one of the busiest freeways in the world, you're going to be driving under it and a mountain lion fox might be walking over, or a fence lizard or a ground squirrel may have a family on top. That's a really hopeful project, and we do owe it to P22.
This is P22, the celebrated mountain lion who roamed around LA's Griffith Park. When he was younger, he somehow made it across 2 freeways, only to end up a lonely Hollywood bachelor until his death in 2022.
Oh, P22, all of Los Angeles is gonna miss you.
But even for the mountain lions who can find mates, the dates are a little too close to home. Biologists worry the small population here could soon go extinct.
It's almost certain that the cats over here that are breeding are related to each other in some way.
But somewhere over there, maybe there's
Exactly.
a hot new thing.
Think if you're on Tinder and all the matches you're getting are family members, right?
Why do we have to
Icky.
put that in my head?
Yeah. Sorry.
The crossing, which is estimated to cost $90 million, will expand the dating pool. That's important for all sorts of critters, even ones who aren't as obviously charismatic. Back underneath I-90, Professor Jason Irwin and his team of Central Washington University students are focused on everything from toads to salamanders.
It's fantastic, and it's really been fantastic to work in a project where they appreciate the little guy.
There are also human lives at stake.
There are parts of the country where traffic safety means installing a new crosswalk at a busy intersection. There are other parts of the country where traffic safety means things like wildlife crossings.
Last year, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg announced a federal grant program awarding a total of $350 million to states looking to build crossings and improve safety. There are approximately 1 million collisions involving large wildlife on America's roads each year, resulting in some 200 human deaths.
If you think about it that way and you think about how many accidents didn't happen, these crossing structures pay for themselves pretty fast.
Brian White has already seen a reduction in collisions where the crossings have been built. Fewer road closures mean faster commutes for everyone.
This is showing the wildlife collisions incidents that we had along the corridor. This is before we started work, before we had the fence up. This is what it looks like now.
Even though the crossing construction in Los Angeles has meant occasional slowdowns and lane closures, Pratt says the public has been able to stay focused on the benefits down the road.
Wildlife crossings are something, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat or what political affiliation, people really support them. I think there's very few people who don't get upset when they see a dead animal on the side of the road. So I think that this is something that in a time where we agree on very little, we pretty much agree on wildlife crossings.